Greetings, my fellow Africans and the entire world. Once again, I come into your homes and your minds with a message of empowerment and enlightenment, all the way from the African Mental Emancipation Movement. The African Mental Emancipation Movement is a movement that was set up, or that has been set up, for the complete and total emancipation of the African minds from mental slavery, as observed by Marcus Garvey and sung by Bob Marley. Today, I'm going to speak to you on the topic, the uniqueness of your individuality. The whole world, or the entire universe, is made up of individual things. And so if you look at the biggest building that we have in the world, you will realize that the blocks that were used to put up that building is made up of individual grains of sand. And without the individuals, there can never be that building. So if you look at that big building and you say, oh, this is something beautiful, without giving recognition to the smaller particles or of the grains of the sun that was used to create the blocks, then you are actually not being or looking at things from its right perspective. And so that is our life. And everything that you see in the universe represents God, or that is God in action. So as human beings, particularly if you look into the living things, you will see this feature or this principle demonstrating itself through all things. We are unique. We are individuals. And that is God, who has individualized himself into all things. And as human beings, we are given higher intelligence to rule over all other things. And so if you go into the forest, you realize that all the trees in that forest, each is standing alone. When it comes to food, when it comes to any other thing, each tree performs its own activity. No one interferes in the other one growth or operation. And so it is with us as human beings. If you take our life and you look at our life, you will see that we are unique. We are individual beings. And the principle that holds in the forest, that demands the tree to stand alone, but they are supposed to cooperate with one another to form a canopy of forest, is the same principle running through us. And so you are different from your mother, and your mother is different from you, because you are unique individuals. In the same way, your siblings, your brothers, your sisters, you are not the same, because we are made out of God. And we say we are the individualization of God. And God does not repeat himself. And so if you and anyone in your family are to be the same, that means God has repeated himself. And this can never happen. So you will see that in the entire universe, everything has its unique identity, unique nature. But we are all of the same species. Yeah. And so that is how life is. We are supposed to stand alone. You are unique. You are individual. God has made you in a very special way. But there is a principle, there is a law that demands that you stand alone and depend on in your divinity, or believe in your divinity and walk in that direction. Believe that you are a God on earth here. God has individualized himself into you. And it is the same thing with the trees. It is the same thing with all other things. But because we have been given the power and dominion to over all things, we have the right to actually manipulate or work on them. But human beings, we are the final. And therefore, you are supposed to stand alone when it comes to your life. Whatever thing that we call the human activity, no one can do for the other. You can be my wife, or I can be your husband. Or let me make it right. I have a wife. We do everything together. And my wife, whom I call my unbreakable and unfailing rib, I don't breathe for her. She doesn't breathe for me. Even though we love each other, we cherish each other, we support each other. There are some things that I can do for her and she can do for me because we are unique. We are unique individuals. We are gods in ourselves. And no one can do some things for God. And so when it comes to breathing, she does a breathing and I do my breathing. I have children. My children, they breathe for themselves and I breathe for myself. My parents who gave birth to me, they used to breathe for themselves. And I was breathing for myself. So it is with my siblings. So it runs through every human being, groupings. And so when you take all these things and you look at it, you see that there is a certain feature, there is something common to us, which demonstrates the fact that we are gods on earth. And so when it comes to sleep, when I sleep, and you sit by me, my sleeping has nothing to do with you. The real benefit for sleeping, I am the only person that gets it. So it is with you. If I smile, if I laugh, the benefit for doing that does not go to you, it comes to me. And as a matter of fact, you can be in the multitude, in the midst of a crowd where everyone is happy, and you will still not be happy because you are a unique human being. And someone's internal activities has nothing to do with your internal activity. And so this comes to tell us that the human being is supposed to stand alone. The principle of self-reliance, believing and acknowledging the truth that you are a God on earth here, and you don't need anyone assistant for you to be able to live, for you to be able to, operate as a true human being. But you are only working and cooperating with other people for a common good. Then, that you have come to the basis of life. This is what we call the ABCs of life. And so, self-reliance, the ability to stand alone and do things for yourself, for ourselves as collectively as a group of people, is very important. And so today I am discussing this topic in relation to us Africans. And if you look at Africans, we are people who do not actually acknowledge the principle of self-reliance or the individuality of human beings. Because if we really believe that, then we should be able to think and do things for ourselves. And as the saying goes, nature abhors the vacuum. And so if you are not doing what is expected of you, nature must find ways to fill the gap. So the gap is all, the filling of the gap is all that we have gone through. And so the human being is supposed to look within himself or herself for power, for power, and to do all that he or she is supposed to do. And it is based on the principle that we are gods on earth here. And God doesn't repeat himself. And also, there are some things that no one can do for God. As a matter of fact, even if I am to come to help you with any situation that you are going through, the success of my help depends on your readiness and your cooperation. I can do all that I want to do. If you do not accept, if you do not cooperate with me, and make sure that what I'm offering becomes beneficial to you. Whatever I'm doing comes to nothing. And that also comes to, it brings us to the fundamental truth that we are unique individuals. And you are a God, and therefore no one can do anything for you. And so it is with development. And so it is with progress. And so it is with all other things. So if you look up to other people to do things for you, then you are going against your very nature, your divinity. And that is God in you. And you are going against God. And there are consequences for that. And the consequences is you create negativity. You create negative experiences in your life. Unfortunately, that is what we are doing, Africans. We do not have the concept. We do not have the understanding of looking into ourselves, looking to ourselves that we are unique. We are unique individuals walking here as God. And we are only to cooperate with God and work together with other people to create and to bring beauty, wonderful things in our existence. And so you will see that we are not making any differences. We are not making any wave when it comes to advancement, when it comes to improvement, when it comes to doing things as human beings. And so today I am here to help you and to educate you, to present the perspective which is the truth, that you are born, you are created and born in the image and the likeness of God. You are unique. There is something that God has placed in you, that you are the only person that can do that and do it better than all other people. And if you identify that thing and go on to do it, you will be successful. It is the same way God has placed us on the African continent with peculiar difficulties and challenges. And just as individuals, God has given us some peculiar abilities and capabilities that we can only do it and do it better than other people. It is the same way God has placed Africans on the African continent with all our conditions and challenges, such that we will be able to respond to those challenges and conditions in such a way that no other person can do that. The Europeans had theirs. They responded to it, and they've given us different things. The Asians are doing theirs. And so it is with Africans. And for us to be able to do that, we have to go down to the principle that we are unique beings. And God has given each and everyone the ability, some unique purposes that we are supposed to perform here. And Africans, when we become conscious to this, and we begin to work towards our purposes, you see that all our purposes put together will brighten the African continent, just as all the trees working individually, but when they come together to form a canopy, to form a canopy of forest, such that there is no wind that can break it. So it is our life. So Africa is underdeveloped. But we cannot develop Africa without looking into ourselves, without having the belief that we are here for a purpose. We are here to make a difference. And to make a difference is to look into ourselves and to see ourselves as powerful human beings, that we have the ability and the capability to do whatever thing that we want to do. We can do anything. And that is why the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so the African has lived in a certain state of mind where we have demagnetized ourselves. We have reduced ourselves to a level that we are not supposed to be, because we are always ignorant about the matters of life. And that is what we are doing here. The African Mental Emancipation Movement, we expose one another to these fundamental truths and leading each other to the direct source of power. And that the direct source, or the correct source of power, the true source of power, is in you, is in me, is in everyone. My source of power is in me. Your source of power is in you. But when all of us are actually operating in the right way, standing alone. Having the principle of self-reliance, and we go on to do everything. When we put all ourselves together, we form a body of people who knows what they are doing, who are standing on alone but working together, and then they create something beautiful. So when you see Europe, when you see Asia, when you see all these things happening in other parts of the world, this is the principle that people know. And so if you don't have that belief in yourself that you are the image and the likeness of God, there is a power in you, there is something, a force in you, that you must call upon the force, and that force moves you to do things, then you can't do anything. You can't do anything. You can't do anything. Any man or woman, any group of people who look for power, who look for, power from outer things, don't do anything, because you are supposed to be energized. And if the power in you is not even activated, but you are looking at power, you're looking for power from outer things, then you have no connection with it, because you are a unique individual. You are individualized. You are the individualization of God. The three is the individualization of the life of God. And so if you're looking for power in the three, then you're looking for power in the wrong thing. But you must look within yourself and become conscious of the fact that there is a power in you, and that power is God himself in you. And he is ever ready to push things out of you, to give you ideas, to give you inventions, to give you things that no man has ever seen. But it begins with you becoming conscious of the fact that you are an individual person. You are unique. And therefore, what you can do and do better, no other person can copy. Anyone who tries to do that is imitating you, and that person will fail. And that is why Africa, you see that we are doing all these things and we are failing. There is something that God has for us, but that we have to, God has for us, or God is bringing into the world through us. But we have to become conscious of the fact that we are unique, and we have our unique and peculiar challenges. And therefore, we have to rise to meet these challenges with the determination and the understanding that there is a force, there is a power in and around us that is animating us, that is moving us to do this. And when we come to this realization, when we come to this point, the African man or woman will look at a different situation, will look at a particular problem and say, hey, this is what I am feeling within me. This is what I am feeling within me, not what I am reading, not what I am hearing. This is what I am feeling within me, not what I'm hearing from other people, no, but this is what I'm feeling within me. So you get up, you follow your intuitions, you follow your hunches, you follow your feelings. And by the time you realize you've given to us a new baby, a newborn, a new child is born. And that is the Savior that comes to save us from a particular problem. And that is what Jesus Christ actually represents. The Jesus Christ story, that is what they represent. Another person sits down and look at a challenge, a particular problem. He also gets up. He follows his intuition. He follows his feelings, his hunches. And he goes on and gives us another baby. So new babies, new saviors, always saviors are being born into our existence. And all of them put together, they form a very big picture that shows that we are developed. We are moving. So we are only here to partake in the creation of God, to make a contribution and to move humanity forward. But until we begin with the truth and the understanding that the human being is here for a purpose, the human being is here to do something great, we will not be able to do what we are here for. And so, my brother, my sister, my fellow African, this is the time we have to rise up to accept the truth. You are a powerful human being. You are born as a creator who has the power and authority to do whatever he wants to do. But you must acknowledge this fact and acknowledge the fact that you are a God on earth here. You are God incarnate. And therefore, you are here to triumph and to overcome challenges and difficulties. And when we come to this understanding, and we come to this level or stage of existence, Africa will develop. Men and women will get a power. Men and women will get that power and confidence that it is their divine right to bring things into the world. It is their divine right to make changes and improvement in our existence. So, as you are listening to me, my brother, my sister, my fellow African, you are a powerful being with unique abilities, with unique capabilities. And if you begin to harness these capabilities, if you begin to call onto the power within you, but not the power outside you, and let that power lead you, you will do extraordinary things. Sometimes, not most of the times, your idea, your purpose on earth here may go contrary to what men and women have already known or are already aware of. Some of them will look stupid. Some of them will look unrealistic. Yes, but you must believe in yourself and believe in what you are hearing and what you are receiving. Because when it comes to that point, that means God is bringing something beautiful, something new into the world. And if all other people around you are to know it, then there is nothing new you are bringing into the world. So all that you have to do is to become aware and be conscious of the truth that God is always bringing new things in the world. And he does this through us. And you have been a chosen vessel through which that thing is coming. Follow your hunches, follow intuitions, follow your feelings, and you will discover and save men and women from a particular problem. And so if you look on the African continent, there are numerous difficulties and challenges. They are not there they are just for the fact that God is punishing us. No. But they are there for a purpose. And the purpose is that we will use our minds. We will rise up. We will acknowledge the fact that we are gods on earth here. And we are unique beings. And take our rightful place in the universe. And begin to work on each difficulties and challenges. And by the time we finish, or we get solutions to them, Africa is already a developed world. Africa is already a developed continent. As a matter of fact, whether you believe it or not, the greatest continent in the world at this time is Africa. The continent with the greatest opportunities in the world now is Africa, because we have the greatest difficulties and challenges. And we only need to seek answers and solutions to this. Not by running after each people, no. Not by looking for technology and other things from other people, no. But by believing in ourselves that we are the images and the likenesses of God, and we are the creators of our own realities. We are here to make a contribution and begin to seek answers and solutions by the use of our minds. And as we do that, we will discover. And when we discover and we develop it, it becomes a unique and a beautiful one made on the African continent. And that is when we say we are developing. And it all comes to we becoming conscious of the fact that just as individually we are unique. I cannot breathe for you, you cannot breathe for me. It is the same way that collectively, as Africans, as black people, we are unique. That is why we are on the African continent. We are unique. We have our unique challenges. And the Europeans, they cannot solve those problems for you. Just as you can't breathe for me, and I can breathe for you. It is the same way that the Europeans who are in a different continent or on a different continent with different challenges cannot solve our problems for you and solve it well for us. Because they are not going through that. That is where the individuality comes. when it comes to races or when it comes to continents where we find ourselves. It is when we develop our continent by the use of the African minds, by the application of truth and principles. That is when we say that we are standing alone. We are standing alone fighting, fighting our difficulties, bringing improvement and advancement in our lives. Then we will show it to the other world. And when we connect it to other world, it becomes a bigger picture. Look at this picture. The Africans, we have developed our continent to the level of Europe. Do you know the world that we have created? Look, no one will actually be thinking we can just live anywhere. Like Ghana is like Ghana is like United States. Nigeria is like Germany. Or if you take Accra, it's like San Francisco. Abuja is like it's like London. Look at this example. If you go to Tanzania, the capital, Dar es Salaam, it's like New York. Look at that. There will be a complete free movement of people. And the world becomes a better place. A place that men and women are free to live and enjoy life without any differences. And so this will happen only when the African begins to stand alone. Let us begin to stand alone. And that is by looking into ourselves and believing in our divinities. And when we begin to believe and building our existence, our life on the principle that the human being is here to dominate and to make deep changes and to make a contribution, we will create wonderful things on the African continent, and other people will come and enjoy it. That is the fundamental truth. That is the universal truth. So let us rise up. There is something that we need to fight with all our might, and that is that mental attitude of overdependence on other people. That is something that we need to emancipate ourselves from. The African is so accustomed to depending on people, and it all comes down to the way, the rock upon which the African personality was built. And as I've already been saying, our forefathers, they look for power from outer things. Therefore, they depended on outer things and depended on other people, and that is what we are doing now. And now is the time. Now is the time that we rise up and take our rightful place in the universe by looking into ourselves. Look within yourself. The power you are looking for, the development, everything that you're looking for is within you. Look within yourself. And when you look within yourself, I look within myself, all of us look within ourselves. And we become who we are supposed to be. God flowing through us and good things coming out of us. Then that Africa becomes a developed continent by the use of the African mind, by the efforts of the African people. And that is why we say we are standing alone. So let us look at the forest. With the multitude of trees, each one is living on its own and doing what is expected of it. Now, all of them put together, they form a canopy of forest that the wind cannot break. It is the same way when we develop our talent, when we identify our purpose as Africans. You will see that some will be inventors, some will be great things, great men and whatever in our communities. That is that all of us put together, we brighten the whole African continent. That is what happened in Europe, and that is what is happening in Asia. So self-reliance, standing alone, is not something that we need to beg each other, but it is our fundamental nature. We only have to become conscious of it and work or begin to conduct our life in alignment or in accordance with this fundamental feature of all human beings or of all God's creation. Africa will triumph. Africa will rise. But it all depends on the readiness and the awakening of the African people to the truth that moves, that brings development. That is my message for you. So now, as you are listening to me, I take this opportunity to invite you to click on the subscribe button and come and join us at African Mental Emancipation Movement. Our determination and our drive is all of us emancipating ourselves from the mental slavery. Some of the things that we have, the beliefs and ideas that we have accepted into our consciousness that are bringing us down, so that we will set ourselves free. We will release the African giant, that we have all other things springing forth on the African continent. And don't forget, as I've already stated, we are on the African continent for a purpose. We are there with unique difficulties, unique challenges, because we are unique, different from other people, not different in the terms of human beings, but based on our nature, based on where we find ourselves. And it is our responsibility to rise up to the challenge. It is only Africans that can get the right solution to the problems that we are facing. Just as the Europeans were able to get the right solution to the problem that they were facing. And when we share with one another, when we exchange it with them, it will be a complete package, such that the world will be a better place, that we will all be happy to the glory of God. So, join us and let's do this wonderful and noble business. Once again, my name is Emerson, and I am the co-founder of the Eagle Mentality Group and the African Mental Emancipation Movement. Our determination, as I've already told you, is to create a new Africa, a new black race, based on the observance and obedience of universal laws and principles, and the power of the subconscious mind, the power within us, such that Africa will be developed by the use of the African minds through the correct application of the African minds. And then we invite all other people that, hey, this is what we have created by the power of God in us. Come and enjoy us. Come and join us. And let us rejoice and let us enjoy the beauty and the greatness of the African creation. And that is when we are bringing the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King to a complete fruition, such that we will have a diverse and a multiracial Africa, where we have all people amongst us, just as we have all people on the continent of Europe and North America. Then we will contribute to the movement, the advancement of the human race. It is already done. For when the carnal man says it cannot be done, the man with vivid imagination and faith declares, it is already done. And I know this is already done. Thank you, and God bless you.